Welcome to Dunkin'.
With Amex Gold, you can get up to $84 back annually at Dunkin' locations, so your morning pick-me-up
Can I have a medium iced coffee with one
tastes even better. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Enrollment required. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
Hello, fellow gamers, and welcome to the Video Gamers Podcast. On today's episode of This Week in Gaming, we're breaking down the PS5 Pro announcement, celebrating the release of Satisfactory after 5 years in early access, wondering what the heck happened to Annapurna Interactive to make everybody leave, and covering some game releases that are happening this week that you need to know about. But first, some introductions are in order. I am your host, Josh, and joining me, I may have had to tear him away from playing Lollipop Chainsaw Repop long enough to do this episode, but he did show up because he's a professional. It's Ryan.
I'm dedicated to the cause. That's why I'm here. So all you people out there better remember this.
Yes, Ryan is a huge fan of Lollipop Chainsaw Repop edition.
It's just great gameplay.
That's a mouthful, man.
Great gameplay.
Oh, boy. Well, we'll get into some game releases here a little bit later in this episode. But we did want to thank you for tuning in, for listening to this podcast. As a reminder, right off the top, if you like this podcast, if you enjoy this episode and you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button in your podcast app so that you will get all of our future episodes coming straight to you each and every week. We release 2 episodes a week, one Monday and one on Thursday, to make that commute, those chores, or whatever you're doing a little bit better, and you can keep up with all the video game news that you need to know about. Ryan, this ain't the best week for video game news, man.
We're trying. We scoured the web.
It's one of those things where, sometimes we have just so much to talk about. Other times, it's a little bit quiet in the video game universe. But hey, our job is to keep you up to date on everything on these This Week in Gaming episodes. And that's what we're going to do today. There are actually a couple big news stories. Probably the most, widespread or important one is Sony did come out and announce the PlayStation 5 Pro. They did kind of like a technical demo of it, and they kind of, touted it to the world. Now, I know that there was a lot of hype behind it. There was kind of some spoilers where people said, dude, Sony's doing this presentation. PS5 Pro's coming. Yep. And everybody kind of got real excited, right? It's like, ooh, okay, well, let's see what's up next. I'm just going to start with the price on this one, right? Because this is the thing that I think is really throwing people off. The PS5 Pro, we'll get into the kind of what the upgrades are on this thing too, but the retail price on this thing is $699. Like, this has to be, it's got to be like twice as good as what the PS5 was, right?
Oh, yeah. The upgrade's got to be just out of this world. It's not like they would just kind of open up some ventilation and, add a stripe or anything.
This is one of those things where, yes, they have to upgrade it. It's probably clad in like 18 karat gold.
Oh, of course.
It's probably got like one of the best graphics cards that you can get right now. I'm sure this thing's pushing 8K resolution at 120 frames a second or something crazy like that, right?
Well, to justify that price, you would have to, right? Because, a mid-range PC, could outperform that, obviously.
So, all right, listen, we're kind of joking around a little bit. Let's just give a little bit of comparison. All right. I can go right now to Walmart and pick up a PS5 Slim, right, for $499. Okay. Now, PS5 has been out for 5 years now?
Something
4 years?
like that.
5 years? Somewhere around there. Okay. And it's like, the Slim edition came out, fine, whatever. Some people like that. If I look on like OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace, I can actually pick up a PS5 for about $300.
Yeah.
And that usually includes a controller that's had sweat and maybe one of the sticks isn't working so well on it. And maybe a game that somebody didn't want anymore that's going to just throw it in there. But for $700, this PS5 Pro better be like the greatest technological marvel on the market today. And the problem is that it's really not.
Oh.
In my opinion, like you have a PS5, right?
I do.
mean, I don't. So we've kind of got the bases covered on this. Like, is it intended for somebody that doesn't have a PS5 that wants to jump in and finally get into the PS5 ecosystem and play those games? Famously, we just did our Astrobot episode. I had to borrow your PS5. You have been saying, Josh, just go out and buy yourself a PS5. And I have said, no, there's not enough exclusive games that I want to play on one to justify the price. And so it's like, okay, well, so I could be one of the people that Sony is trying to market this to. You, as a PS5 owner, have had your PS5 for, I think, since they came out and they stopped getting scalped by everybody and you could actually get your hands on one.
I had one day one and a PS4 as well.
So there you go. So it's like, okay, so you might be the other kind of, wedge of this market that they're trying to say, hey, you like your PS5. Wouldn't you like to upgrade to the latest and greatest? You know how these games come out? There's been so much kind of internet anger about a game that comes out and it's like, oh, this game's only going to run at 30 frames a second on the PS5. And then people go, are you crazy? Like, what did I pay all this money for if I'm only pulling 30 frames a second on this game? And so I think this was meant to kind of solve that problem where people want 4K gaming. They want it at 60 frames a second. They want all the fancy bells and whistles with the ray tracing and all that stuff. And so Sony does what they're going to do. And they're going to say, fine, okay, we're going to give it to you. I'm going to break down some of the upgrades on the PS5 Pro that they have touted on this. And you tell me if these mean anything to you as a current owner, and I'll tell you if they mean anything to me as somebody that doesn't own a PS5 Pro.
Okay.
All right.
Let's go.
Okay. So they talk about the big three improvements that the PS5 Pro has. The first, an upgraded graphics card, right? Every gamer knows that a graphics card, that is the number one component that you care about if you are a gamer when it comes to a console or a PC. Okay. The PS5 Pro has 67% more compute units, Ryan.
Oh, I love the compute units. I'll tell you
who doesn't love 67% more compute units and 28% faster memory than the standard PS5? Okay. Sounds good, right? 67%, 28%. You're talking my percentages.
We're moving up.
Right. Okay, so they know that we're not math wizards, so they break it down and they say this enables up to 45% faster gameplay rendering, resulting in much smoother play experience. It's almost 50% faster.
That sounds good so far.
All right, we're there, right? Okay, I'd like 50% more smoother gameplay experience. This one is a fancy sounding thing, but man, the next upgrade is the PS5 Pro's advanced ray tracing capabilities. Now, who doesn't love them some ray tracing in a video game?
Can't live life without ray tracing.
I need my light to bounce off of puddles of water and off reflective surfaces and stuff like that. We both have very good PCs. We get to use ray tracing because of that. Do you notice a massive difference in ray tracing?
I honestly never even think about ray tracing. The only time I think about ray tracing is when I'm doing like a test. I'll throw on Cyberpunk and then just run at max settings to just see what stats I put out, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that was with ray tracing too. And that's about the extent I ever think of ray tracing.
I'll be honest, I can turn ray tracing on in a lot of games, but it's while I can kind of sort of tell a difference in ray tracing, it's not enough to account for the performance hit that ray tracing comes with usually. And like I said, you and I both have pretty close to like supercomputers in the PC market. So ray tracing is neat. It is noticeable, but it's not like the mind-blowing thing that I think some people that maybe haven't experienced ray tracing think that it is. All right, and then finally in this big three for the upgrades, the PlayStation Pro packs AI-driven upscaling, which is also known as PlayStation's Spectral Super Resolution. This utilizes machine learning to sharpen images and increase clarity, and Sony promises that it's an extraordinary amount of detail.
That all sounds great. So how much again?
$699, Ryan. $200 more than the PS5. And let's just talk about this for a minute. Okay, you have recently built your PC. I have built a lot of PCs in my day. Building a PC has become a lot easier over the last like 5 or 6 years.
It's so easy.
It's honestly, I know it's intimidating for a lot of people, but it is really not that hard to do anymore.
It's like Legos.
It really is.
Dude,
like most things, as long as you know where to plug it in.
Old days with like jumpers and you have to switch this and that, and then the hard drive stuff and you know, bright power supply, everything, it was so much more difficult back then. Not to be like old man, but it's a lot easier from someone who had built a PC in the early 2000s and then also built one within the last year. It's much different.
Yeah. So, you know, we kind of have to naturally compare the pricing at $700 to what could you get with a PC for that amount. Now, you are not going to build a PC for $700 that can do 4K at 60 frames a second. Like, honestly, 4K at 60 frames a second is still pretty hard to do for all but the highest end PCs at that point, right? Most people are not gaming in 4K anyway. I think I saw something where it's like something like 85% of gamers are still gaming at 1080p. And that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. If you have the means and you have the money to kind of pay for this extra stuff, then you can certainly do that. But for most people, gaming at 1080p is just that they're perfectly fine with that.
That's fine.
You know, and you're not paying a premium for higher resolutions and things like that. You can build a pretty decent PC that can play most games out there at 1080p for, I would say, probably about $1,000.
Yeah. That's
you
fair.
agree with that?
Yeah, that's probably good.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're wanting to get into 4K and 120 frames a second, we're talking a different story. But for the majority of gamers, if you can drop $1,000 on a PC, you can get into gaming just fine, where I think, 95% of people would be happy. So it begs the question, does the PS5 Pro warrant the $700 price tag? It does allow you to do 4K gaming, and they are claiming that it's 60 frames a second, but it's only $300 less than a PC. And what is the benefit of having a PC over a console, in your opinion, Ryan?
The biggest thing to me is like the PC just gives you so much flexibility on what to use it for. You know, you can just utilize it for so many other things other than just exclusively gaming, or, with the systems now, they have all the different, streaming services for entertainment purposes as well. But a PC, I mean, I for my company, I have a pretty killer laptop for work purposes only that can run some pretty decent games. But, it's one of those things that it offers so much more versatility as far as what you can use it for. Having said that, some people can't spend $1,000, $1,200, $1,500. So if I can't do that, I don't want to get the regular base system, but I want to game the best I can and the highest performance that I can afford. $700 for a system that is going to be top of the line with the way systems go. Maybe it makes sense for them.
Yeah, I will say in regards to a PC, the only other thing I have always said that getting into PC gaming is tough because it is a higher cost of entry, but once you are in it, it's much cheaper to upgrade and to keep kind of relevant as you move forward, right? So yes, you're going to drop $300 more on something, but when you need to upgrade it, hey, I need more RAM. I got 16 gigabytes of RAM. I really wish I had 32 gigabytes. You're going to spend $70 maybe? Yep. And then, boom, you've got double the RAM at this point. And it takes 3 seconds to install more RAM, that kind of thing. So, I know this kind of sounds like we're being a little bit negative towards the PS5 Pro. I don't mean it to sound that way, but it just seems like Sony kind of whiffed, in my opinion, with coming out with the PS5 Pro, hyping up the release, and then putting it at a price point that I think makes it the most expensive console that has come out, with the exception of, what was the old one back in the 90s? Was it the TurboGrafx or the 3D? There was one console, maybe it was the Neo Geo. There was one of those where it was like phenomenally, it was like $1,200 back in like the early like 80s or something stupid like that, where it was just and every cartridge was $200. I remember seeing them in the GameStop, and I'm pretty sure it was the Neo Geo now that I think about it. But yeah, I mean, I just don't know who they're marketing this to.
The hard part is technology. Everybody knows it moves so fast. The second you get something, it's already outdated. And with the system that is not really easily upgradable, it's going to be a specific type of people that are going to want to buy this. And I don't know. It's hard to see them selling a lot of these units for $700, with what it offers. It's just, and I'm a PlayStation, I'm a big PlayStation fanboy. So I'm not going to be upgrading. I'll just wait till the next system. I don't see any reason to. The only issue I've ever had was space, and you could just delete a game and then install a new one. But yeah, I just don't see it with the price point on this for what you get.
Yeah, I should very quickly, it does come with a 2 terabyte hard drive on this, which is huge. I run a 1 terabyte and it's only half full, but again, I do delete games when I'm done with them. The other kind of kicker here in the crotch is that if you want the stand so that you can stand this thing up vertically, it is $25 extra for the stand. It doesn't even come with one of those.
Oh, so. but wait, I have some actual PS5 like hard disks, so it comes with the drive, right? I can just put it in.
PS5 Pro, Ryan?
Yeah, of course it would. For $700?
This just in does not come with a physical drive.
Does not come with a drive. Okay.
Sony, what are you doing, man? All right. Well, enough bashing the PS5 Pro. Listen, if this is for you, congratulations. The only kind of comment that I'll give is maybe look into saving up $300 more and getting into PC gaming at that point.
Sure.
Yes, you're going to miss out on a couple exclusives, like I had to borrow your PlayStation on the Astrobot, but it's just a thought. So, all right. Well, listen, that we kind of went a little bit long on that one. We are going to get into some of these other news stories, but we are going to take a quick break and we will be right back.
Your teen requested a ride, but this time not from you. It's through their Uber teen account. You drive your teenager around, a lot, to their friend Jacob's house, their other friend Jake's house, to James's, to Jaden's, to Jalen's, to...
Mom? This is Jake's house, not Jacob's.
Now with an Uber teen account, your teen can request a ride under your supervision. They'll ride with a highly rated driver, and with live trip tracking, you'll follow along the whole ride to their friends' houses that all sound the same. Add your teen to your Uber account today. See app for details.
Bye, Mom.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be.
All right, we are back. Ryan, a little bit better news here. I feel like we need some celebration music or something on this one, but a phenomenal game. A game that ranks very highly on our leaderboard is a game called Satisfactory.
Yeah!
Oh man, I freaking love Satisfactory. Listen, we have played this game. We did a deep dive on this game. Satisfactory is a phenomenal video game. It just hits all the right spots. It scratches an itch that I didn't know I had for a kind of crafting, survival, exploration type game. The fun and the upgrade path for Satisfactory and building these giant factories and trying to figure out, how do I do this? How do I make it run? How do I make it look good? How do I make it to where I can actually get around and do what I need to do is just an absolute blast. Satisfactory has been in early access for 5 years.
It's just so crazy to me. It's wild. When we played it, I had no idea it was even in early access still. And then you guys are like, "Oh, it's in early access." No way. This is like a full game. It's wild.
Because it feels like a completed game, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a game that felt like it should have been out of early access probably 2 or 3 years ago because it just felt that polished.
Yeah.
Well, it finally left early access. The 1.0 full release of Satisfactory is available for the world. Cannot recommend this game enough to people. Kudos to the developer Coffee Stain for just taking their time. We pick on them for having it in early access for 5 years, but this is one of those games where it's been fun for the last 3 years, man. I mean, yes, when we first dove into it, there were definitely a lot of the, hey, this is a placeholder. This is coming in the final release. You know, there were a lot of items where it's like there was supposed to be like maybe some kind of story or mystery attached to it or something like that. But, you know, it is out. Kudos to the developer. This game is fantastic. They did come out and say that they're not going to abandon it now that they have released it, and that they do plan on further content development for the game as well, which makes me feel good. But honestly, at this point, it's like, guys, you've done it. Like, just, you know, fix the occasional bug, sit back and enjoy your piles of money at this point.
Right, exactly. And I mean, there was a lot, like looking over the list on everything that they released with it. I mean, tons of new tech and buildings, all kinds of different paint colors that you can select throughout, different upgrades. Even some of like one of the drones, you can use all these different fuel types now instead of just a standard fuel type. There's just so many different modifications, I guess, they made to the game. I do think it may be hard for them, you know, to get newer people on board, because anyone who has it is probably going to continue playing it and going to get the, you know, full access and all that stuff. And then drawing the new people in that are like, oh, this game's been out for 5 years. What do you mean? It's like, no. It's been early access. Now it's actually out. The game's out. It's released. Come on, come play. You know, and so it's like, oh, well, I don't know. So I hope they do, because it's a phenomenal game. It scratches, like you said, all those itches organizationally. Like if you want to set up and just make a cool looking organized base, like you can do that. You can craft and survive. There's so many different features on it that are just phenomenal. So yeah, I hope it does awesome, and I'm sure we'll hop in and check it out.
There are a few games out there that dangle that carrot in front of you quite as well as Satisfactory does. You know, you start off with, you know, so kind of the basics. You're burning leaves and twigs to generate electricity. And then by the end, you're developing nuclear power and you have train stations going and things like that. But yeah, there definitely is something kind of magical to this game. A couple other things real quick. It is coming to consoles. They are working on console releases for this. It has sold over 5.5 million in sales.
Heck yeah.
For this game over the course of its early access and its release. And right after its 1.0 release, there were over 120,000 concurrent players playing it. So this is, again, a very strong recommendation for us. If you have not played Satisfactory, this game is an absolute blast. You can grab a bunch of friends to play with as well. It's a huge game. There is a ton to do. This is a game you will absolutely get your money's worth out of. And it's done really well. I mean, graphically, it's beautiful. Everything, the technology trees and stuff like that are just a blast to kind of, you know, go down and figure out how to do. And again, that's not even counting all the organization and kind of factory development and stuff that goes along with it as well. So, okay. Now, this story is kind of funny. We don't have to spend a ton of time on this one, but Annapurna Interactive, which is well known as one of the publishers, they tend to publish indie games, right? We have said in the past that, hey, you know, we've got all these huge publishers like EA and Activision and you know, things like that. And you know, we don't like them because they generally only focus on money, but Annapurna Interactive, they generally try to focus on publishing indie type games, which has always kind of gotten them some cred in our opinion. But apparently they had a little falling out the other day because everybody at Annapurna Interactive that was on the, I will say everybody, but it's more so like the actual management board, executives and stuff like that, straight up quit.
Yep.
They just said, you know what? They had a falling out with the CEO and they just said, that's it. We're out.
Yep. Hit him with see ya.
Yeah. I mean, so 25 members of the Annapurna Interactive team collectively resigned over a falling out with the CEO. I mean, we have heard of, you know, developers getting laid off and there being, you know, mass layoffs for these big companies and stuff like that. But this one caught us off guard because these people just did the Jerry Maguire and said, I quit. Who's coming with me?
Yeah.
And everybody kind of went, well, I'll go with you. And then before you knew it, like everybody was gone. And so, like these big publishers do, they came out, they did the PR speak. They said, hey, we're going to prioritize our developers that have games in development and stuff like that. And we're going to try to make sure that everything continues smoothly. But I hate to see this because it just means things are not good. When you have a job that you work at where people are willing to just quit en masse like that. I mean, the video game industry seems like it's stressful enough with trying to hit deadlines, and then, your game flops like Concord just did.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, man, I poured my heart and soul into this project, and then it comes out and it flops. Like, that's got to be a really tough pill to swallow. So we definitely feel for game developers and stuff like that. I mean, I will say that it is refreshing to see them kind of all stand together in whatever this fallout was that they had at Annapurna Interactive, but that's crazy.
That's so crazy. I mean, there's always two sides to every story, but for a group that large, for a development company like that to all get together, this wasn't like in a whim on an instant. This had to have been building till eventually they're like, you know what? We're out of here, man. We're done with this. So for that to happen, you just wonder. I wish I was a fly on the wall to just see the buildup and see how this happened, what happened to bring this about. Would have been interesting. But yeah, man, to go from developing a game like this and then all 25 of them just yep, see ya. We're gonna head out, and then the CEO's probably just sitting there like, oh crap. What are we gonna do?
Oh man, to kind of just put some clarity on the story itself. Apparently, the president of Annapurna Interactive, a guy by the name of Nathan Gary, and his team of like 25 people were in negotiations with the actual owner of the company, and what they were trying to do was spin the company. Like they were trying to spin off the video game division of Annapurna Interactive, because I guess Annapurna does some movies, or they have a different branch. They handle stuff besides gaming. Okay. But they were trying to spin off the video game division as an independent entity, kind of apart from the parent company. And the owner of the company pulled out of the negotiations. And so the president, Nathan Gary, straight up resigned with his executives, and then they were followed by about 24 other staffers at the company. So that's kind of the official kind of thing that went down there. So
that's why
I hope they go in. I hope they found another company and continue with publishing these indie titles. Just to give people another thing, some of the titles that they have published include Outer Wilds, which is an absolutely fantastic game that's very memorable. Stray, which took the world by storm, where you got to play a cat, and Cocoon, which was a puzzle game that came out, I think, either early this year or late last year, that came out to really, really positive reviews from people as well. So they've definitely put out some really cool indie games. So like I said, we hope you spin off and kind of do your own thing there and take matters into your own hands there as well. Okay, we're quickly running out of time. A couple very quick hits. Ryan, Flappy Bird is back.
Oh, it's back.
It's back.
It's back.
Dude, what happened to the world when Flappy Bird came out, man? Were you ever into Flappy Bird?
I played it, and all I think about now with Flappy Bird is Deep Rock Galactic.
Yes. The little rocket boot,
the little
right?
rocket boot that you
boot?
could, something like that you could go through. And I'd sit there and play the game, Inception style, the game within the game. And, but yeah, this is crazy. So what happened? Somebody bought out the rights?
Yeah, so the trademark, I guess, expired. So the original owner, the original creator of Flappy Bird, the world lost its mind over Flappy Bird. And I guess this guy did not expect this, wasn't ready for it. And he just kind of went, I don't want any of this, man. And he just kind of retreated. He went into like hiding into the bat cave and just kind of said, I'm done. I didn't expect this. I don't want any of it. And so when he did that, I guess over time, the trademark had expired. And once that expired, it allowed people to then kind of jump in and say, hey, well, we're going to make Flappy Bird. And I don't know if somebody trademarked it in its place or something, but a fan group is what they're labeling themselves as, took it over and recreated Flappy Bird. Kind of like everything else in the mobile world. I mean, they added different birds that you can be in different kind of levels, and they tried to gamify it a little bit more in this case. And it's like, dude, it's still Flappy Bird. I mean,
I'm going to be honest with you, bud. I have no interest in this at all.
I don't either. I never understood the Flappy Bird craze.
Well, look at this. As reported by IGN, the Flappy Bird Foundation Group, an organization of passionate fans, announced that it acquired Flappy Bird trademark. I'm like, does Flappy Bird really have passionate fans? I mean, I guess they do. No offense if you're a passionate fan, but I don't know. I know Paul was our big mobile game guy. If I'm gonna game, I'm gonna game like sitting down at a computer, sitting down on the couch. I'm not going to sit on my phone and just tap a screen and watch a bird fly into a wall.
Yeah, it's fun for about 5 minutes for me, and then that's it, honestly. A funny thing to note is that this fan group of passionate fans isn't really a group of passionate fans. I think they're trying to do a little bit of razzle-dazzle there. And the original creator, I should say, of Flappy Bird came out and said, no, I don't have any relationship with their game. I did not sell anything, and I also don't support crypto, because this passionate group of fans apparently is very much involved in like NFTs and Web3 type blockchain type stuff too. So,
of course.
Yeah. So, and then finally, really quick, there was a cool game that we like to kind of talk about games that come out. There was a game called Wild Bastards that released. It is the sequel to a game called Void Bastards that we are bringing up because it's getting decent reviews. GameSpot actually rated this a 9 out of 10 in their review, which kind of catches my eye a little bit.
Oof.
I mean, that's high praise from GameSpot as far as that goes. I have seen some kind of middling reviews that say, you know what, this game's a very neat game. It's got an interesting take, but I didn't find it to necessarily be a lot of fun. This game's probably best described as like a tactical roguelike shooter. It's more of like a slow-paced shooter. It's not guns a-blazing kind of thing. You get a very wide cast of characters. I think there's something like 18 of them or some ridiculous number of characters that you can unlock in this game. And it very much uses like a rock, paper, scissors type format as you approach these levels. So it's almost like solving a puzzle or a challenge in the way that you approach the levels and the various characters that you use and kind of how you plan your attack on these different levels and stuff. So again, that's a game called Wild Bastards. Did you watch any gameplay footage on this or anything, Ryan? It looks a little weird to me.
It does. It almost, it reminded me, and maybe it's just me, but almost like a first person shooter version of like Risk of Rain. Like the kind of the look, the color scheme, and the way the kind of the graphics were of it. But I get what you're saying about kind of the rock, paper, scissors aspect where the way you engage, you know, the different opponents. And it definitely is very slow. One thing just, I guess, gameplay or graphically wise that I did think was funny is this guy's got dual pistols and he goes around and you're shooting. And then when he reloads, obviously he's got a pistol in each hand, but then another hand is also reloading the revolvers. It's like a revolver. So I thought that was funny. I was like, what? Well, where are those hands coming from, bro?
I think he's got 4 arms, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because it's a wide cast of like alien type,
maybe that's what it was. Then I'm like, what the heck?
I noticed that too. And I was like, where are these extra hands coming from, man? But then why not have 4 revolvers?
Exactly. I'd rather have 4 revolvers for sure.
So anyway, this game looks neat. Like I said, reviews have been anywhere from almost a 9 out of 10 down to kind of just mid-tier. But if this sounds like it's kind of your thing, you might want to check it out. Again, that's called Wild Bastards. And then super quick, because I said at the top of the show that we'd talk about a few releases. We don't really have time to get into them, but the biggest release coming up for this week on September 20th is the release of Frostpunk 2. Frostpunk was a very good video game. This was kind of like a city management type thing where you're in this like frozen tundra and you have to make these really tough decisions. No matter what you do, some people are going to be upset. Some people are going to die. It's a very grim, dark kind of city management type game. I did actually play Frostpunk for a while. It's really good. Frostpunk 2 looks to just kind of improve on everything. I know there's a ton of hype around that game. Did this kind of even like ping on your radar, Ryan?
It actually did. And I'm glad to hear that you played the first one because I had never played it, but it definitely enticed me like heavily. Like I don't know what it is lately about kind of that survivalist city management organization type thing, maybe because the rest of the world is in chaos, so this is like a little home that you can get into, but Yeah, it definitely it pinged me. The trailer too was pretty heavy with you can hear your city's cries for what they want and what they need. Not everybody's going to get their desires. Some people are going to die based on your choices. So it's a pretty cool kind of setting and aspect, the way they have it all, set up.
This game's really, really well done. Again, Frostpunk 2, we don't know because it hasn't released yet, but I can tell people that this is going to be a very polished game. It is dark. Like, this is not a happy SimCity type city builder. Like, this is dark. People are going to die and it's going to be because of you, but sometimes it's like for the greater good type thing. And then on top of the city builder part, you also kind of do these little like side missions where you go out into the wilderness and then it's almost like a choose your own adventure type thing where you have to make choices and then maybe you discover a piece of technology that you can bring back to your city, or maybe like your whole party dies and then now you're down important people that are no longer at your city and helping you out there and stuff too. So game where choices matter, but very dark, very grim, but man, it's a really good game. So make sure that is on your radar. Again, that's September 20th. And then finally, Tiny Glade. Ooh. Talk about an opposite game, man. Know, Tiny Glade reminds me of like Animal Crossing, but without the animals, where you just build a happy little glade, and you just build a cute little cottage and you put some fences up around it. And it's like, dude, this game looks like Valium to me. It's like, it is the equivalent of like, I just have no stress while I'm playing this game. I get to make this beautiful little glade, whatever I want it to be. It actually looks super peaceful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing, obviously still Diablo 2 and then Space Marine 2. And then I watched Frostpunk, 2, again, a lot of sequels, I guess. And they're like, Steward, this squalor will kill us all. And everybody's dying and stuff. And then you get to this and it's just, it's a nice peaceful thing. I'm like, man, I was not
the little fence.
Yeah,
the little house.
Just adding little lamp posts and walkways and a bridge, and I'm like, man, I was not ready for this. This is too peaceful for me right now.
It was very shocking to my brain, but I will admit that there was a very small part of my brain that was kind of like, oh, that looks so nice, man. They curved the little fence around. Oh, that's a nice little touch. Like, that's like, what a cozy little cottage you've built in your glade. Yep. And then I was like, what am I doing? I need to go slay aliens in Space Marine 2.
Exactly.
Oh, man. All right. Well, listen, that about wraps everything up for this episode. Again, just a quick reminder, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you follow us. You can rate us 5 stars in your podcast app. That helps us out a ton. If you leave us a written review on Apple Podcasts, good chance that we'll read it on the show. If you would like to go the extra mile and be a hero to the video game world, you can support this podcast over at multiplayersquad.com for as little as $5 a month. It really helps this show out. You'll get some perks. We like to say thanks. You'll get early access to all our episodes. You'll get ad-free episodes, some Discord perks, and a shout out on the show as well. So again, you can check that out at multiplayersquad.com. Make sure you join our Discord server. Fantastic gaming community. I mean, just an incredible group of gamers. What breaks my heart is I see people that say, hey, I want to play this game, but I don't have any friends to play it with. Yeah. We've got the solution for you. Join our Discord server. It is the best group of people in the gaming community you could imagine. We get nothing out of you joining the Discord server. This is simply to say, hey, if you want a really great group of gamers out there, this is the place. And so thank you to everybody that is part of that community as well.
And we're active in it as well. We are there I start every day by popping open Discord and checking out what's going on with everybody. Everybody always says, hey, good morning. And when you join up, even if you're a lurker and hanging out for a while, like we always say, we love our lurkers, but once you hop on, anybody that announces themselves to our Discord, they are always immediately either by us or all the other members, hey, welcome, what games do you love, blah, blah, blah. And it just starts that engagement. And like Josh said, everybody's so kind there. Everybody's always looking for someone to play games with or game suggestions. It's such a cool thing to see. Like, I love being part of it.
It's rare. It's rare in the gaming community these days. And that's one of the reasons we like to put it out there and tell people about it as well. So, okay. And then coming up on Monday, Ryan, we're going to do the unthinkable.
What?
We are going to come up with our personal top 5 list of funnest video games.
Just fun. Just
I
want to have fun. What am I going to play?
Unadulterated fun, man. Forget story, forget graphics, forget any of that stuff. Just games that are sheer joy to play because they are nothing but fun. And so that's coming up on Monday. Make sure you don't miss that episode. Until next time, happy gaming.
See ya.